Hello and welcome to the second of our 4 Rivers of America Challenge races. It's the Willamette Grand Prix at Portland International Raceway. And on pole for the first time since his debut at Monaco, it's Yael de Bock for Cascadia, just slightly edging out Edvard Holm in his bid for 3 successive pole positions. The Dane will have to start from second place instead today. We have yesterday's winner, Tomo Kazama, starting third for Holiday, just ahead of Emma Kickert in the second Simpson. Then behind them on the third row of the grid, it's Nicolas and ARWS who took her first podium for Scorpio yesterday. And then it's Ben Fleet and Takumataki on row 4. Martin McFry and Marco Jancher on row 5. And on row 6, we've got Gary Pacer and Bradley Dagnall. As all of these drivers will be very wary of the track following the I suppose you could only call it a disaster that happened at turn 4. A lot of them will hopefully be will be a little more tentative in their driving today. Row 7, we've got Katie May and Nathaniel Cameron in both of the Joneses, looking to make up after promising drive from both of them went by the wayside. Kalon and Naoki Shinjo are making up row number 8. And then it's Imani Burrell and Vasa Malish on the 9th row of the grid, just ahead of their teammates Amy Gauthier and Aki Yamamura. Yamamura seeming to find a little bit more pace in the Adriatica today, as opposed to how they've been performing most of the season so far. On the 11th row of the grid, we have Malik Zidane, who's going to be hoping for a little bit more luck than what he got yesterday, with a Marshall pushing Gary Pacer's stricken Cascadia right out in his way. Pierre Saint-Laurent will be starting from 22nd, and Aurora Summers has had a pretty solid qualifying effort, you have to say. Good effort by her to start 23rd, looking to have a much better performance today than what she did previously with, I think it was 4 spins in the end and eventually just crashing the car out. Alberto Cara is alongside her, starting 24th, and on the final row of the grid, we have Fu Wen and Riley Griffith. With the start of the race just moments away. Moments away now from the start of the Willamette River Grand Prix. Engines are fired, waiting for the green lights. And it is go! De Bock quickly moving to cover off Holm. Holm forced out to the outside by Tomo Kazama, dives up into second place. De Bock holds the lead from Kazama. Holm, Nicolas, Kickert, Pacer, Fleet, Vozu down to 8 from McFry, Dagnall, Taki, and Jancher. And Naoki Shinjo has lost his rear wing. It's more poor luck for Mecha to start this season. They cannot seem to catch a break at all. That was Vasa Malish missing his braking point and taking out the rear wing of the Mecha. Just checking over the rest of the cars. I don't think anybody else has picked up damage. I think it is just Naoki Shinjo. But it is a perfect start for Yael de Bock. Oh no! Shinjo in more trouble. He's off and he's lost a rear wheel. Looks like he's really struggling with... He was really struggling with... Oh, and he just cut across right in front of Riley Griffith and took himself completely out of the race on lap 1. Oh, well, I mean, the first quarter incident was nobody's fault, but I don't think you can put that on anybody but Shinjo, yeah, he just cuts right ahead of Riley Griffiths. There's nothing she can do in that situation. But it is indeed a perfect start for Yael de Bock, who's desperately been looking for a bit of luck to fall his way. Ever since that first win in Monaco, he's been having to fight his way through the field. Will it be different today? As he leads lap 1. He's got a good gap over Tomo Kazama after that first lap. Holm, Nicolas, Kickert in hot pursuit. Gary Pacer has also been having some issues. That is Taki there getting around Bradley Daggle for 10th place. And a lot of cars here getting stacked up as there is a bit of a concertina effect there in the first chicane. Happens a lot in these opening laps. De Bock does look to be stretching his lead now over Kazama. Comes across the line to complete lap 2. That's another fastest lap for Yael de Bock. He's grown his lead to 1.3 seconds over Kazama, who's very much looking like she's playing defense there from home. That is Ben Fleet taking 6th from Pacers. Vozu and McFry now looking to get around the second Cascadia as well. Pacers really not had a lot of answers for de Bock early in this race. Of course, as yesterday, we are expecting a 1 or 2 stop strategy. Mostly the 1 stop preferred, it would seem. We have McFry here looking all over the back of Anu Vozu. Don't think you'll be able to find a way past there, Martin. De Bock really putting the work in now to build that gap over Tomo Kazama. With another fastest lap as McFry sends it up the inside of Vozu into turn 1. And he will take over 8th place. Cameron currently leading the W12s, just ahead of teammate KT May Malish, with a much better start than what he had yesterday. He's up into 15th, ahead of Long, Yamamura, Burrell, down in 18th, just ahead of Gautier. Summers has moved up to 20th. Zidane struggling in 21st there. Saint Laurent really lost out on that opening lap, down in 22nd. Down to 24th. So it does seem that she is struggling a bit for pace. Might have picked up a little bit of minor damage after that contact with Naoki Shinjo on the first lap. De Bock's lead now 2 seconds. As it looks like Taki's now gotten around his teammate. Vozu really struggling for the kind of pace that she had yesterday. I think that car is probably a bit more set up to run out in front in clean air, and now that she's in traffic, Vozu not really able to have the sort of pace we saw in the opening stint yesterday. Indeed, that was kind of the issue for her in that race after her pit stop. She just got stuck in traffic and couldn't really make any progress. Holm, meanwhile, is just sitting comfortably behind Kazama, not putting too much pressure on the Holiday, the winner last time out, well, yesterday, in yesterday's race, the Columbia River Grand Prix, but he will want to not allow Yael de Bock to get too far out in front. Now, 3 seconds behind the leading Cascadia is Yamamura is in the pits with a loose wheel. Very quickly they get that repaired, but it does look like they are filling that car all the way up to finish the race from here. So once again, it does look like a long day in the office for Aki Yamamura. They will come out just ahead of Yael de Bock here. It's the 6th lap of the race and puts another couple of tenths into that lead over Tomo Kazama. Nicolas also fending off Emma Kickert for the time being. Not a lot of movement for back in the field as of yet. We will be hoping for a slightly less chaotic race than we got yesterday with the oil and marshals and just everybody seemingly falling off the track at one point. Pierre Soleral really held up here behind the peak of Aurora Summers. Looks like see just ahead that Zidane gotten around her, but Soleral will want to get this move done. It's not confirmed whether he'll be back with that team for next season. Right here, held up a little bit behind Yamamura. This is going to be exactly what Yael de Bock needs. We did lose a little bit of time on that previous lap, getting around Adriatica. That is Kazama forcing her way through. That is not what Edvard Holm would be wanting, but he's able to get around without too much issue there. Looks like this could stretch out our leading group a little bit. Here's De Bock puts in another fastest lap of the race, and that lead has exploded to over nearly 4 seconds, and Alberto Cara has a loose wheel on the young one. Oh, this is not what he needed for his championship challenge today, and Alberto Cara is going to be a very early retirement in this race. The Yangwang usually bulletproof in terms of reliability, but not today for Alberto Cara. It would seem very unfortunate end to his race. Fleet there getting around Yamamura. Looks like Taki is starting to put pressure a little bit to Martin McFry for 8th place. De Bock puts in another fastest lap. Absolutely flying out in front of the race is the Belgian. Would very much like to re-seize momentum in the championship battle here. Nicolas has gotten away a little bit over the last couple of races. So, De Bock needs to get that momentum back in his favor if he wants to maintain his championship challenge. Oh, there's issue for Martin McFry. McFry's falling down the order. Transmission failure on the Foxtail. Martin McFry, I don't think he's going to be able to make it back to the pits from here. Indeed, he has to pull it off to the side of the back straight here. After and it's a very early retirement for Martin McFry, and a familiar sight, unfortunately for him. De Bock is really putting the hammer down and getting through these lap cars without too much trouble, and that would be why, because he's on a very aggressive fuel strategy. Just like yesterday, on the two-stop strategy is Yael de Bock, pitting right at the start of the window. That hands the lead to Tomo Kazama. Will the two-stop strategy work out for him today, though? Because again, it was not really very effective. And De Bock is going to come back out in 11th at the back of the i3 turbos here, so he's going to have to work his way past all of these cars. Looks like Taki's dropped behind Vozu somehow. Taki may have been held up a little bit behind Martin McFry, as McFry encountered that transmission issue. And that allowed Vozu to sweep through and take the position. So up front though, it is it was looking like a battle for the lead between Kazama and Holm, but Holm seems to have dropped away a little bit on this lap. As Burrell's just made her first pit stop of the day, so Burrell would seem also on the two-stop strategy. Nicolas still fending off Emma Kickert for third at the moment. Ben Fleet's very solid weekend continuing here. He very much seems to have found a lot of pace in that Foxtail that he was not able to do earlier in this season, so it might not just be curtains just yet for Ben Fleet. Pressure's been elevated up into 6th place. We've got Summers into the pit as well, so Summers also on the two-stop strategy. Summers are getting out of the pits just ahead of Dagnall and De Bock. That's not what they would want to be seeing at this stage. Summers really blocking De Bock there for some reason. I don't know. Is there some sort of issue between these two drivers? If they've if perhaps De Bock was blaming Summers for some of the issues yesterday, as Holm is now pitting. So Edvard Holm, interestingly, on the two-stop strategy, also into the pits is Ben Fleet. This is an interesting strategy call. Holm had this race pretty much in the bag on the one-stop yesterday. Perhaps they're trying to cover off Yael de Bock, but he's not going to jump ahead of the Belgian in the Cascadia at this stage of the race. So he's going to have to get it done on track, it looks like. As Kazama now has the race lead. Yesterday's winner. And the candidate to win the Rivers of America Challenge if she wins this race. As well as both of the races at Loudon. $20 million will be going her way. So she has every incentive to keep this coming and win this race. She's pulling away from her teammate Philippe Nicolas, really putting a lot of the doubters, silencing a lot of the doubters that suggested she might never be the driver she was once hyped to be as a real phenom in the junior ranks. She's built a 5.7 second lead over Philippe Nicolas at this stage of the race. Nicolas very much concerned with fending off Emma Kickert, as we've got a couple of more cars coming in. It's Malish and Nathaniel Cameron. Seems like there is a few more takers on the two-stop strategy. Could be that Direware may have been playing a factor yesterday in a lot of the drama we were seeing, as well as the oil and such on the track. Is Cameron and Malish coming back out in the in clean air as Vozu now ducks into the pits. here, making a move on Griffith after making their first pit stop of the race. Ooh, gutsy dive up the inside there from Yael de Bock, trying to take both of them at the same time, but not quite able to clear Yamamura. Does so into turn 4 though, and this is going to hold up Edvard Holm a little bit. He'll still have to get past all of these cars, but again, this is also going to play a lot into the hands of Kazama, Nicolas, Kickert, basically anybody still on the one-stop strategy. Barely see Emma Kickert from this camera angle. That's just how close she is to the back of Nicolas' holiday here. The Dutch woman has had a very, very dismal, disappointing start to the 2025 season. Rumors are that she could be on her way out of that team if things don't turn around over the remaining 2/3 of the season. Of course, this is the fifth race of the season, sorry. We've got Kickert into the pits now, so Kickert's making an early pit stop here on the one stop. Pacer through into 3rd, Taki into 4th. Launcher into 5th, and Kickert will emerge on the pits just ahead of her teammate, so it does look definitely like the one stop is the strategy to be on in this race. This Holm there gets around Bradley Dagnall. Oh goodness, there's a lot of smoke there. That's Ben Fleet! Oh, there's no fixing that. That Koenigsegg is well and truly cooked, and Ben Fleet's very impressive weekend here. Looks like it's going to come to an end very shortly. Kazama pits from the lead of the race. Hands it over to Philippe Nicolas. Now the question is, where will Kazama come back out in the running order? There goes Marco Jantscher through. Here comes Yael de Bock. And Yael de Bock will come out behind Tomo Kazama with still one more pit stop to make, so everything is looking good for Tomo Kazama. Ben Fleet finally parks at the side of the track, not too far away from where his teammate retired. Double DNF for Foxdale, still struggling to work out those reliability woes. 18 May is pitting for Jones. And Philippe Nicolas pits the lap after his teammates. Holiday will be wanting to get a very quick pit stop here to get him back out potentially ahead of Yael de Bock. It'll be tough going to do that though. As Gary Pacer has taken over the race lead. Taki also pitting at this stage. And yeah, it's not going to be enough for Nicolas stay out ahead of Yael de Bock, but de Bock still needing to make one more pit stop here. And Nicolas comes out behind Emma Kickert, so the undercut very much working for Kickert. This is desperately what she needs, is Holm's in the pits now. That's a bit earlier than we were expecting. It's because Holm has developed an electrical issue on the Simpson. We saw a lot of these yesterday. So hopefully this won't be the case again today. And through all of this, Gauthier has worked her way up into 11th place in the running order, 2nd of the W12s behind 1, but I think a few of the cars ahead of her have pitted, so that might be a little bit elevated at this stage. Kazama will take over second now as Yoncher makes his way into the pits for Euromotor. Here goes Taki through after making his first stop. Well, first and only stop, I should say, and Bosu gets through past Yoncher as well, so Yoncher very much at the back of the W12s. Griffith, Gautier also pitting. Pacer surely must be pitting pretty soon at this stage. And he starts the 23rd lap, the midpoint in this 46 lap event. Got 9.5 seconds over Tomo Kazama, so he's not going to be able to hold the lead. Especially not when Kazama's taking chunks of time out of him. Bradley Dagnall into the pits for Euromotor. Lon also pitting. You see Nicolas here having to contend with a bit of lap traffic. That's gonna make it tough for him to try and retake the position from Emma Kickert. Kazama really pushing hard. This is a critical point in the race with our main contenders on the one-stop strategy stuck in traffic. She wants to build more of a lead here. Is Amani Burrell pressuring Gautier for 17th here, but not quite able to find a way past. And into the pits comes Gary Pacer from the race lead, so this will hand it over to Tomo Kazama. Kazama back out in the lead of the race. Just 2 seconds ahead of Yael de Bock, who is catching her, but still needs to make one more pit stop. Pacer will rejoin the race, currently in 5th place, as we've got Burrell back into the pits. Looks like Taki will get out ahead of Pacer. Bozu, not so much. So she'll have to try and find a way past the Cascadia if she can to take that position. Okay, de Bock only a 0.04 of a second quicker than Kazama on that previous lap, as we've got a couple more pitters. It's Solaron and Malik Zidane. And Fu Wen also into the pits for Young Long. Yeah, Kazama really putting up a very strong fight here. Even though she doesn't necessarily have to stay ahead of de Bock, because de Bock's still got another pit stop to make. Kazama doesn't have to pit again. Oh no, and that looks like there's issues for Philippe Nicolas. There's a transmission failure on the holiday. This could be what de Bock needs to sway the championship challenge back in his favor. I don't think... Yeah, no, that is race over for Philippe Nicolas. And I think all eyes on the Holiday Garage are going to quickly follow Tomo Kazama as she leads this race. Has a good chance of winning it. I'll want her to at least keep up the championship challenge in the Constructors, but Nicolas' hopes of taking a second Drivers' Championship taking a little bit of a hit here today. Of course, there is a half points race since this is a doubleheader weekend. Both races making up the full distance of a typical ARWS race, so only half points available for the race yesterday and today. I think Kazama would very much like to have the full points for a win, and she can do that if she wins this race today. Bock doing everything he can to keep her honest, but he's in a pretty poor position with the strategy call from Cascadia. So Pacer still trying to fend off ARWS in that battle for fifth. I think if De Bock pits, he'll come out right around that battle for fifth, so that could be something to keep our eyes on. I believe the window is more or less open for the second stop here. That is just Riley Griffith very courteously moving out of the way of some quicker traffic here. And Takuma Taki is pitting with an electrical issue, so more electrical issues here at Portland. That's going to significantly hamper Taki's hopes of making up for his early retirement yesterday. Lap from Kazama. She stretched out the gap advantage over to Bock and Kickert. Whereas Kickert's the one she really wants to keep an eye on, since they are on the same strategy. Don't need to pit again. With a solid 8.5 second advantage and no real pace difference between the two of them. If anything, it seems to be slightly in the advantage of Kazama. It would seem like everything's looking good for Tomo Kazama here today. This two-stop strategy definitely is not working out in the favor of Edvard Holm, you have to say. He's been, ever since making that first pit stop, he's been stuck in so much traffic, he cannot seem to make his way forward in this race. Has he already made his second pit stop? I'm not sure. No, he's still not made that second pit stop, so it's going to be tough going for Holm to get anything out of this race today. Oh no, there's a lot of smoke there. It's ARWS in the Scorpio. She had a pretty good result going, but nothing is going to come of it. As De Bock is out! De Bock is out with a suspension failure! Oh, that's 2 retirements in the top 5 almost simultaneously here. It looks like that suspension has failed under braking for Yael de Bock at the Cascadia. It's devastating for him, as it looked like he could be making some ground back up in the championship here today. That's not going to be the case. And Vozu's hopes of getting some momentum together for Scorpio also not going her way. Water leak on the Koenigsegg power plant for Anu Vozu. So this neatly moves Kickert up into second place. Looks like she's taken a little bit of time out of Tomo Kazama, who's having a little bit of trouble with this traffic here. Kickert's gonna need more than that though to close the 7.5 second gap down. Barry Pacer has inherited 3rd place here. That'd be a solid podium to sort of get get things moving back in his direction championship wise. Be some valuable points as well for Cascadia in the Constructors Championship. So I think this is the main battle on the track at the moment, but I don't think it's really for position here because Holm still needs to pit again, and the Yontra does not. Indeed, one Holm pits. He's going to come out behind both Diagonal and Hockey to by quite some margin here, so it's going to be tough for him to really finish above 7th place here. Cosmo's lead now 10 seconds over Kickert. So everything looks like it's going the way of Tomo Kazama, and that is Holm making the move on Yontra here. Pretty decisive overtake by the Dane up the inside. He's gonna need to get it going over this next lap or so before he makes his pit stop. That's been called into the pits at the end of this lap. And into the pits comes Edvard Holm from 4th place. And there goes Diagonal and Taki through before he's even really gotten his service complete. Indeed, that is Taki going up the inside of Bradley Diagonal, taking over 5th place. That's 2 places in one straight there for Taki as Holm will resume the race in 7th place. Oh goodness, and you can see there how badly this strategy has worked out for Edvard Holm. He's nearly a full lap behind his teammate Emma Kickert. Who herself is 10 seconds behind our race leader, Tomo Kazama. There she goes. Very much looking imperious at the front of the field. We've got Malish into the pits now, so Malish making his second pit stop. He'll get back onto the track in 13th here. Just ahead of Yamamura. Also got Cameron, and that is Aurora Summers in the pits. That promotes May up into 8th, Lon into 9th, Cameron in 10th currently. I think he should be able to get back out ahead of Amy Gauthier, so he'll hold on to 10th. Kickert's pulled back about a second or so from Kazama. She'll need a lot more than that to really have a shot at this race win. Yamamura now making their pit stop, their final pit stop of the race here. On there having a little bit of trouble getting around the Yonglong of Fu Wen. Wen doing his part at least to score some points for Yonglong over Peak in this race. Kazama's lead last time by was down to 8 seconds. Waiting for Emma Kickert to come by. We've got 7 laps to go, and that lead has gone back up to 8.7 seconds, so it's still really no threat from behind Tomo Kazama. She's had about an 8-second advantage over Kickert pretty much since they've pitted. Is there an issue for Emma Kickert? Doesn't look like it. She's just, I guess she was just getting around Salarant there. Had to take a unorthodox line in order to do so. Oh no, is there an issue for Marco Jancher? There is an issue for Marco Jancher! More poor luck for Marco Jancher, who's just been probably one of the top drivers in this season. He has been regularly running towards the front in a lot of these races, but he just cannot seem to be able to buy a finish. That's going to promote Taki to 4th, Diagonal to 5th, Holm up to 6th place here. And Jancher, once again, a very strong run, grinds up, resulting in nothing. Well, not nothing, but like nowhere near the points he should have gotten. And after losing a little bit of time earlier in this, a couple of laps ago, Kazama's stretched that lead back out to 9.8 seconds, back out to pretty much where it was before, nearly 10 full seconds over Emma Kickert. Very much has this race pretty much under control ever since, I think De Bock and Holm opted for the 2-stop strategy, which very much did not pan out in their favor. Holm running down in 6th place, and how far is he behind? Oh yeah, he's been lapped. So that tells you how well the 2-stop strategy is working in this race. I don't think we'll be seeing it again, I don't think. Or at least, I imagine if we do, it'll be because the tire manufacturers bring softer compounds into this weekend. Pacer very comfortable there in third place. 20 seconds behind Kickert and 22 seconds ahead of Taki. He's very much nailed on for that third place. Yes, it does seem that Malish is closing in on Malik Zidane, and they're both closing in on Amy Gauthier, so this could be a closing lap battle between these three drivers for 10th, 11th, and 12th. Oh, it looks like Edvard Holm has actually managed to make it past Bradley Dagnall here. Is there an issue for Bradley Dagnall? There's an issue. There's an oil leak for Bradley Dagnall. Oh, goodness. There's going to be a double DNF at the end for Euromotor, despite once again showing some promising pace here today. We have 3 laps remaining in this race. Ooh, Malish there. Having to take offensive action. As Kickert there getting around Zidane, sorry. Shinjo, of course, out as there goes Bradley Dagnall off to the side of the road and out of the race. Hopefully that oil leak won't have dirtied up the racing line here through turn 4. That's what we saw a lot of issues with in yesterday's race. We've got 2 laps to go here with Kazama completing lap 44. And there goes Malish up the inside. Got a good run here alongside Zidane and will take 11th from the Mecha. Looking at a pretty solid result here for Checkmate here. After, of course, both their cars having issues yesterday. Looking good for 9th and 10th here. Nowhere near as good as it looks for Tomo Kazama as he comes around the final corner to begin the final lap of the Willamette River Grand Prix. Right behind her is the man who probably felt he could have won this race if he hadn't been on the wrong strategy. Oh, and somebody else has got off. Oh no, that's Gary Pacer! Oh, that's heartbreaking for Cascadia. They've really not had much luck since De Bock's debut win for them. So, we have just a couple laps to go. Pacer's car has cried enough. A puncture on that car. I'm not certain that before this weekend, anybody would have really picked Tomo Kazama as the candidate to win the $20 million for the Rivers of America challenge. But she's doing everything she has to do to make that happen, as it's another comfortable victory. Oh no, there's a puncture for her on the final lap of the race. Can she get it to the finish line? Oh my goodness, Emma Kickert is coming up right behind her. Can Kazama make it to the line? I think she just managed to get over the line. Yeah, Tomo Kazama has won this race just about, with a final lap puncture, only just able to make it across the line. You can never switch a race off in ARWS, I can tell you that. Katie May will pick up a brilliant 5th place finish for herself here in, for Jones. Takuma Taki will wind up completing the podium here for Scorpio. Kalon finishes 6th. Edvard Holm finishes 4th. And that final margin of victory, 77 thousandths of a second, a real photo finish here. Quite possibly the closest finish we've ever seen in an ARWS race. It also enabled the Holm to finish on the lead lap. Fastest lap of the race goes the way of Yael de Bock. It'll be a bitter consolation for him after, well, basically his race was thrown away by being on the wrong strategy. And, then, of course, his car broke down, unfortunately. Edvard Holm with the 2nd quickest lap, and Tomo Kazama with the 3rd quickest lap. And with that, our doubleheader weekend at Portland is complete, and we have a real candidate to win the Rivers of America challenge, heading over to Loudon for the final 2 races of the of this 4-race stretch, the Pemigewasset Grand Prix and the I forget the other name, unfortunately. Winnipesaukee River Grand Prix. So those will be our shows next time out at Loudon. We'll see you there.